council meeting to order. Invocation by Alderman Untitled.
Dear Heavenly Father, as we gather here tonight to do city business, Lord, I just put this in your hands to give us the guidance and the will to do what's right. Lord, I just thank you for this day. Thank you for the people that are here. Lord, just watch over our city, the people that are suffering from this disease. Lord, I just wish you would take it away. And Lord, just be with us tonight, and again, watch over us as we leave. In Jesus' precious name, amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call.
Megan Bryant. Here. Larry Bud.
Here.
Tom Burrow.
Here.
Ernie Dorchenez.
Here.
Kathy Driscoll. Here. Leland Dudley.
Here.
Jim Olive.
Here.
Crystal Teddy.
Here.
Every alderman is present. Omnibus vote designation. Motion to approve.
Move.
Alderman Dorchenez.
Second.
Second, Alderman Bryant. Roll call.
Larry Bud.
Yes.
Sean Brittle.
Yes.
Ernie Dorchenez.
Yes.
Kathy Driscoll.
Yes.
Leland Dudley.
Yes.
Jim Olive.
Yes.
Crystal Teddy.
Yes.
Megan Bryant.
Yes.
Motion carries 8-0. Minutes of the regular meeting held December 21st, 2020. Motion to approve the minutes. Motion by Alderman Bertle, second by Alderman Bud. Questions or comments? Roll call.
Larry Bud.
Yes.
Sean Brittle.
Yes.
Ernie Dorchenez.
Yes.
Kathy Driscoll. Leland Dudley.
Yes.
Jim Olive.
Yes.
Crystal Teddy.
Yes.
Megan Bryant.
Yes.
Motion carries 8-0. Ordinance. An ordinance amending paragraph I of section 8-5-4 of chapter 5, title 8 of the Taylorville City Code. Liability of property owner for building sewer repairs. Motion to approve the ordinance.
So moved.
Motion by Alderman Bryant, second by Alderman Dorchenez. Questions or comments? Comment, Alderman Bud.
I don't know if everybody's looked at this real close, but this has left the city open for a lot of the liability of cost. It could be a rental property and the people that live there, diapers get plugged up in that sewer line out in the alley and we're responsible for something that was not even our fault. We're being set up to fix every sewer line in the city that's in the city right away or easement. And if we find something that's out there that had nothing to do with the sewer line itself, it was because of fault of the property owner or their renters, there is nothing in here to protect the city. Nothing. And that's going to cost us a lot.
All right.
I'd like to be
Alderman Dorchenez.
I don't agree at all. This is actually going to save the city money, because right now, if you have a broken tap, okay, that in the ordinance right now, currently it says it's $3,500. The city will pay half. Your homeowner will pay half. So if you got a broken tap, then the city's out $1,750. If they have a private plumber do it, the homeowner's out $17. So it's a lose-lose situation on that tap. And that happened back years ago when I tried to get the same thing done then. And there was a compromise. The compromise was that the city would pay one half of the repair of the tap, one half up to half of $3,500. And so, as you well know, you're the one that was lately had one given to you where the tap repair was $1,000 instead of the $3,700. And and then there was an argument because they wanted $1,750, and they were only entitled to $500, which was half of it. And what this does is it defines that if you have the homeowner has a problem with their sewer up to the tap, up to the city's right of way, okay, that's their responsibility. It always has been. That hasn't changed. The only real change is there in here is that if the tap breaks, the repair is borne by the city. Now, if the tap breaks and it can be done, we normally will fix it, and we're paying the city sewer department people that are working there. We're paying them whether they're working on that or not, or sitting in the building. So there's no extra cost in labor if they repair the tap, okay? Now, where the biggest savings is gonna, not savings, but the biggest protection comes in, and this is the main thrust of this, is that if you have a catastrophic problem, okay, a homeowner that would incur an astronomical expense and they can't afford it, they're either gonna have to move out of the house, abandon the house, whatever, because of the fact that they can't afford it. And what would be a catastrophic problem? A catastrophic problem would be, for example, when you buy your house, you probably don't know. You go buy a house, most people don't know. I didn't know. I asked some realtors if they paid any attention to that now, and they don't. For example, if you bought a house and you don't know that the sewer is running down the middle of the street, okay? So now, under the way that the current ordinance is, the homeowner would be responsible for going to the tap. In other words, they'd have to go through the road, tear up the road, fix the road. The expense is out of this world. And in my opinion, is that everybody that owns property in Taylorville that's hooked onto those sewers are paying a tax, property tax. They've got the users of those sewers are also paying a fee when they get your water bill, whichever water goes through that sewer, you pay that fee. The sanitary district tax on an amount that they got to pay, okay? So I think the citizens of Taylorville are entitled, they are entitled for the city to be responsible for the tap, and they're responsible for their own property, their own sewers. Now, if it goes across the street and it tears up everything and you've got a big expense, well, that's where you're going to save the life of those people.
But this ordinance doesn't say that.
It says, excuse me, I don't mean that in when you got the floor. Ask Mr. Romano. He's sitting right there.
Mr. Romano, can you answer that question?
Yeah, I think Ernie's got it right in this sense. It's pretty straightforward. It came out of the ordinance committee. Anything that's within the city right of way, city property, city easement, whatever the problem is, this ordinance says the city's going to repair and or replace that problem. And if our trunk line is actually within the private property owner's boundary line, which I think some lines are, we heard at a prior meeting, the city will be obligated to pay that as well. But anything, but not the service line. Okay, it's our trunk line, not their service line. But if the property owner's service line is in our right-of-way and easement, yes, this ordinance says we fix that.
But it says anything within the city's right-of-way or easement, we're gonna be responsible. If that's plugged up out in the easement area, caused by the homeowner's responsibility, we're going to pay. That's exactly what it says.
There, he just explained it to you.
Yep.
Rocky, doesn't it say that we will cover any cost in the right-of-way or the easement?
Yes, it does say that. Yes.
That's the problem I've got with it. I don't have a problem helping any homeowner in this town. None at all. But this has left us open for anything that's wrong. You want to cover just that sewer tap? I'll support it 100%.
You know,
But that's not the way this is written.
Larry, this is the best legislation for the homeowner I've seen in 25 years I've been on the council.
I agree with it, other than the fact that we shouldn't be responsible for something that they caused.
Why? It's their money. The people from Taylorville are paying for those repairs. They're paying for it whether they get done or not. I hope I'm paying, and I hope I never have a problem. I'm willing to give my money, put it in a pot, and let it fix somebody else's sewer. Okay? That's all I've got to say.
I just want to say this. Ernie, if it gets plugged up in that sewer line out in the alley, we're the ones that's going to be responsible for them plugging up the sewer line. We shouldn't have to cover something that was at their fault. If there's something wrong with that line, with that tap, covered 100%. No questions asked. But if there's other problems that we didn't have anything to do with, that the homeowner or the renter did, then we shouldn't be having to cover their costs.
Alderman Hall, you had your hand up?
Yeah, there's also in previous ordinances, I'm looking here that says beyond the 10-foot property owner occupying the subject of their respect. If something happens to the sewer line, the council may determine on a case-by-case basis what additional amount may be paid. The city will reimburse the property owner towards the total cost to make necessary repairs. Now that portion is no longer in there. We don't no longer ask for an itemized bill. I don't think it says that the street superintendent or sewer superintendent has to go down and give the okay as to what they're going to do. I mean, all that's gone out of there. So consequently, we're wide open.
It does actually state that the superintendent or his designee has to go down and review the work if we're not doing it. And I don't know why we'd ask for an itemized statement from our own street superintendent.
Well, because we won't be doing the work all the time. And in the other one, it's stated. That's what happened here. That's how all this problem started. Is we weren't abiding by our own ordinances. We didn't ask for an itemized bill. Cause I had one here, I forgot what it was. 3304 is what the bill said. We paid $16.32. What'd they do? We don't know. We don't know where the problem was at. We don't abide by what we write.
Well, what if that $16.32 would have only cost us $200 in labor? What if we could have saved $1,400 on that by doing it ourselves?
Well, if we do it ourselves, and the conversation I had with Mike today, then we're gonna have to go out and we're gonna have to buy a whole bunch of boxes because we don't have any.
Boxes?
Yes, because we have to work by OSHA rules. So consequently, when you're digging, you have to have a metal box down inside to protect the worker. Correct, Mike?
Alderman Dorsones.
Okay, Mr. Romano, here we are debating this again. This has been going on like for 4 months, and every time we get to this point, there's more arrows flying through the air. We passed this at the last city council meeting. The vote was 5-3, if I'm not wrong. And the only thing we're changing tonight, the only thing that we're approving tonight is the wording. We've already approved the ordinance to go through. The only thing was we're trying to approve what you wrote. Is that not true?
That's true. All I did to the document that you approved was just tweaked it in the sense that when it said service line, I had the word like building service line. And when it said tap, I said city's tap.
So we've debated this and debated it, and we passed it last city council meeting, and all we did was approve. So what you did tonight was you put it in ordinance form, and that's what we're talking about is the wording. If the wording screwed up, that'd be something else, but it is not.
But what are we calling tap? Who can tell me what the tap actually is? What are we considered the tap? We keep going back and talking about the tap.
I know what the tap is.
Well, I do too.
Okay.
The tap is just merely the piece that wraps around our trunk line.
There could be some issue with either the service line or the trunk line, which to me is two different people. The homeowners should be responsible for his own service line. He is when he builds the house. Even though his service line may or may not go into our easement or our property, on the Dorsones, should the homeowner be responsible for that? Or once it reaches our property, are we responsible for that homeowner's service line? I know we're responsible, I think we should be responsible for the trunk line, but what I'm saying, that service line that leads to our trunk line, where the tap is, who should be responsible for that?
I'll answer that this way. I've been a proponent of this for at least the last 4 months. I've supported this for 4 months. I've answered a lot of questions, and to me, it's in good form. Mr. Romano did a good job of tweaking what we put in there, and I call for the question.
Okay. Roll call.
Sean Burdell,
Yes.
Ernie Dorchenez.
Yes.
Kathy Driscoll. Pardon?
I'm sorry, I had on mute. Yes.
Lee Landzadi,
Yes.
Jim Olive,
No.
Chris Coletti,
Yes.
Megan Bryant,
Yes.
Larry Bud.
No.
Motion carries 6-2.
Thank you.
Motion to approve the permanent boat dock on Lake Taylorville at 2701 Eastwood Drive. Alderman
I'll make
Dorsones,
the
motion by Alderman
I don't
Dorsones.
have a comment after.
Second,
Second.
Alderman Bryant, comment, Alderman Dorsones.
Okay, this isn't going through the proper channels, but it's okay to do it, and I want to explain why. What we've done is, when somebody wants to build a boat dock, what we do is, they fill out an application. Once the application is filled out, then the lake superintendent then will take that application and review, go out and look and see if there's any problems with putting the boat dock in as per the description. So then, if he is happy with it, looking at it, then he also approaches the neighbors and makes sure that what this person's doing and putting the boat dock out is not going to impede on that person's privacy or whatever. It's not going to block his boat dock. It's not going to block his view of the lake, whatever. So, and then after that, it will go to the lake committee. The lake committee then would approve it, send it to the city council. The city council would vote on it, and the mayor would sign off on it, and that's the way it's done. Well, this gentleman has, what it is the same person that's going to put in the boat dock for this gentleman, Fry, Mr. Fry, they're putting in a boat dock over in Lake Burton Eddy. Okay, so if we don't approve this tonight to go forward with it, what would happen is the people that's putting in the boat dock in Burton Eddy would have to, they've got a barge and equipment over there, they have to take it out of there and take it back to Chicago. And so this gentleman, Mr. Fry, would then incur a large expense to bring, now you got to pay to have that brought down here and back to Chicago. So he's paying for a trip down here and back, which is not cheap. And so that gentleman has approached the city, he's talked to the mayor. Mr. Ortman went out and looked at it and approved it. And so I think that we ought to, it's not really circumventing the system that much because of the fact that everything is fine. And so I would recommend that we approve.
Any other questions or comments? Roll call.
Ernie Dorchenez?
Yes.
Kathy Driscoll?
Yes.
Lee Landzadi?
Yes.
Jim Olive?
Yes.
Chris Teddy?
Yes.
Megan Bryant?
Yes.
Larry Bud?
Yes.
Sean Brittle?
Yes.
Motion carries 8-0.
Thank you.
City attorney update.
4 matters, folks, the first of which, 510 North College, the demolition process, the notification process has been started. I'm told that I think Andy today actually put the signage up and mailed out the remediation notice, and I think Julie has made arrangements to have the requisite public notice published in the Grease Courier, so 30 days hence we should be in position to demolish that particular piece of property. I think I've been keeping you in the loop on the amended dedication and easement agreement that was recorded, what was prepared and recorded back on December 30th of last year. The title company found an error in their policy of the legal description, which required it to be amended and re-recorded, which has been done. The one issue that came up is apparently the owner of the building is selling it to somebody else. Some lawyers down in St. Louis were asking about whether or not the HSHS building was in compliance with the zoning code, and whether or not a certificate of occupancy was ever issued, which it was not. And I think for years, I don't think the city has actually done that process of going to that final step of a certificate of occupancy, although your city code does require it. And the purpose of that is when your zoning officer goes out and looks at the plans and specs of someone wanting to build something, as long as he's satisfied that if it's built that way, then he'll give a building permit. But the ordinance is such that at the end of the day, after it's been built, your zoning officer should go back out there and determine that it was actually built according to the plans and specs. If he finds that to be so, he issues a certificate of occupancy. So I'm just recommending and suggesting that henceforth you follow that process, because it is a check and balance to make sure that when people come in and get a building permit, they actually build it according to the building permit, and that they can only use that property once your zoning officer says it's okay. Any questions about that? Okay. One reminder that we'll be meeting at a Zoom meeting Thursday afternoon with Enterprise. They can send us some amendments, and we'll be discussing that, and that meeting hopefully have something to report back to you at the next council meeting. The final matter is I've gone through, at the city clerk's request, is made changes to your lake lot leases and your campsite lease agreements in accordance with the two ordinances that you've already passed that address that lottery system versus the waiting list, and also the ordinance that talked about two tenants on the same lot, if you remember that kind of language. So I put those two lease agreements together, but there's been a number of other suggested revisions that I think went back to committee, or we're going to go back to committee. I haven't heard where you guys are at on it. But the city clerk needs to have some resolution if there's going to be changes, because she normally sends those out at the beginning of February. So my suggestion is I'll email all of you what I've done thus far, and you'll see it in red, the changes that were made that conform with your ordinances. Then at your next council meeting in January, you can at least vote up or down if that's the proper form that you want. And in the interim, if you want to hold a committee meeting and talk and approve or what have you, or not approve any other revisions, we just need to get it done before what, Julie, February 1 is what you'd like to get them out.
Well,
So that, go ahead, Julie.
no, it's okay. They need to go out by the middle of February because,
So then we would have the first meeting in February, if they have a committee meeting,
right,
then they can approve it at the second meeting in January. I can put it together and get it for the final approval
sure.
at the first
It
meeting in
takes some
February.
time to get them all prepped and ready, and then they have to have 30 days to send them in before we turn the lake lots loose. So it's kind of a long process. That's why it needs to be moving forward. Turn them loose.
Alderman Dorsones.
I would like you to suggest that all the aldermen come to that next meeting, because otherwise you're not gonna get all the input from everybody. By the time you get to council, then you're gonna start debating it, and if it's gotta be changes made at the council, Mr. Romano won't have time to do all that, to get it back to the clerk. So if everybody would attend that meeting.
I agree. I suggested all aldermen come to all committee meetings, so they really know what's going on. Okay, anything else, Rocky?
No, that'll take care of it, folks. Thanks.
Thank you. Mayoral update. Pardon? I received news today that Senator Andy Menard resigned his Senate seat effective January 17th. The city of Taylorville and myself personally would like to thank him for his years of great service to the 48th district and also to our community. We thank him for the $500,000 grant that he got us for the tornado relief. Our schools thank him for the great work he did in restructuring the school aid formula. This man has been invaluable to this city and also to me personally, and for this I just want to say thank you, Senator Menard. Very short meeting tonight, but the council must begin to work on cleaning up our wards, replacing sidewalks, and finding ways of increasing revenues as our revenues decrease due to the COVID-19 pandemic. I gave each of the aldermen here tonight a list of the trees that we're going to ask for quotes on. I'm going to give it to 8 or 9 different companies, so hopefully look at the tree list that I gave you. Some of them are in each ward, and we'll be ready to vote on whether we're going to go away with it once we get the quotes back. I'd also like to congratulate Mark Durham, city employee whose last day was today. 35 years of service to our great city. Thank you, Mark, for a job well done. Thank you very much. There were no committee meetings during this time, so we need a motion to approve and ratify payment of bills. Motion by Alderman Bud.
Second.
Second by Alderman Bertle. Comments, Alderman Bud?
Electric, $8,351.05. Telephone, $1,205.88. Garbage, $2,010. Nick Bodine for the muni building floor in the basement, $6,150. Yard heating and cooling, this is heat exchangers and service, $5,795.51. MFT Cargill for 127 tons of salt, $6,361.97. Police Department, Bob Writing, $1,362.10. Fire Department, Western Specialty Contractors, for repairs to the brick, $2,975. U of I, academy tuition for Todd and Wheaton and officer training, $5,100. Street department, contractors concrete, $1,676.53. Sewer department, Omni-Site lift stations, this is an annual contract, $3,864. Vandervetter Engineering, this is the annual maintenance, $24,739. Water department chemicals, $28,620. 66. Benton and Associates, $2,365. And W.W. Granger, $1,1389 for a total of $101,590 for these bills. Thank you.
Question on that.
Question, Alderman Dorchenez?
I called Julie today to ask about one of the items, the expense item on the lake. It's on page 20 of the bills, and she suggested I called Andrea. Andrea, I tried to get a hold of Andrea today. I don't know if she was out of the office or something, but I couldn't get a hold of her. But my concern is that it's got a service call for an unplugged camera. Okay, now that seems, $190 seems like that's a lot of money for an unplugged camera. Now, one of the things is that, for example, I won't say the company I'm on, but my television, my vendor, if, for example, I pop a fuse, okay, if my television is powered by that, in other words, it's plugged into that outlet or hardwired into the same wire, it's self-reporting. In other words, as soon as that happens, my vendor knows and will call me. They won't call me, but they'll text me and say, you know, I got a problem here. Do you know that? Do you and so anyway, what I'm wondering is something like this, are we getting, you know, like the old Dick Tracy movies when something, you know, when here's the bad guy coming in there, he's going to rob the place, and he comes in there with side cutters, and he cuts the wires, right? Well, that didn't go back to the police. I mean, they get away with it. But now, if you do something like that, if you got the vendor I've got, if you cut the wires to break in, okay, it reports. Is this something that I don't expect you to know the answer, Larry? I'm just saying that somebody. Do you know, Andrea? Is this? If it's not, I need to report.
I might know something about this. I think this was a camera that had been put in the shop years ago, and for some reason it was unplugged by either past lake superintendent, not Jeffrey. I think this has been unplugged for years, and we finally realized that it was unplugged, and Warren's had to do something to get it up and running. I believe it's the camera that was in the shop area. Correct me if I'm wrong.
Well, my concern is that they didn't just go out and get a wire and plug it in the wall for $190.
No.
Okay.
No.
That's all I got.
I think this has been unplugged for years, and we thought that if we're going to go to the expense with all the cameras, we should have them all plugged in.
I would think so. Okay.
But I'll check with Warren.
I'm good with that, but I think that, you know, if somebody, if it accidentally gets unplugged or whatever, it ought to have an alert
Right.
to tell us that that's the case, because we don't want that to happen if in fact we got it for security,
Right.
and at night somebody comes in there and cuts the wires and it doesn't alert anybody, then it's not very valuable.
Can I sidebar on that? Are we, on that subject, are we proactively making sure that those are staying plugged in and pointed where they're supposed to be?
I believe we are, aren't we, Andrea? We've been out there more than I have.
Oh, good, we're not.
The cameras, so it was brought to my attention.
Right.
Set the cameras up. The police, both the chief and the assistant chief, have access to see the cameras on their phones through it's like an app.
Mm-hmm.
That was all updated, so that's probably why part of it was more costly is the lake and the airport will both ran on different apps, and so they consolidated it. It has better quality, I guess. They can catch more per second. I don't understand all that because I don't do that, but I originally had it on my phone and I passed it off to the police, and then Jeffrey also has it on his phone as well because they're the ones that would be reporting to incidents if things happen. Moving forward, the security company is supposed to notify us if anything is requested to be turned off or changed or whatever. It has to be approved at a higher level so that won't happen again. I'm unsure.
Andy, would you find out if if it accidentally comes up, I mean, because we've
I
got
mean, I
the
could
security
look at
cameras
my
in
phone
case.
right now and tell you that they're all viewable, but yeah, that was part of the
I'm
reason.
sure they're probably hardwired now. I think probably this unplugged cameras is just a catch-all for everything they did.
Okay.
I mean, I highly doubt they went out and just plugged it in and it caused us nothing.
I went on the call that day out to the lake and they adjusted the camera, they updated the app, they updated the DVRs, what they called it, in the marina office, so that it's all on the same app, it's all at the same speed, and the quality is much better, and I guess that's just the way they explained it to me.
Okay.
So I don't foresee there being a reason to regularly come out and service it, I just think it hadn't been serviced for I don't know how long, and so they were just updating everything to be on the same platform.
I didn't mean to take up everybody's time tonight, but I just couldn't get.
Yeah, right.
I couldn't get.
Alderman Olive?
I don't think, Ernie, to answer your question, I don't think any of the cameras here, they don't report to a central station, that they just report to us, so to see if they're working, you have to look at the monitor to see if it's actually on. Like yours at home, it reports back to a central station somewhere.
Yeah,
But
well-
ours, it just transmitted to here, and then that's as far as it goes.
Well, my concern is like we might be monitoring, maybe I don't want to point out, I don't want to point out where we're doing it, but if we're trying to, let's say we're trying to observe something being vandalized. Let's say that outside the building of the marina, let's say that the restrooms are being vandalized. Well, if we got a camera on there, we might be able to catch those people.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, well, we won't be able to catch them if they go in there and cut the line, or, you know what I'm saying? If they get up there and cut the line, and then it doesn't record, and it doesn't tell us that happened, that's what I'm saying. I think that's the least that ought to be done, is that.
And most of them, like the ones here in the building, all the wiring is up above the ceiling, so you would have
Be hard to
I'm
do
not
that,
saying
yeah.
that you couldn't do that, but that is a possibility.
Okay.
Roll call.
Kathy Driscoll. Lee Landzadi.
Yes.
Jim Olive.
Yes.
Chris Teddy.
Yes.
Megan Bryant.
Yes.
Larry Bud.
Yes.
John Bertle.
Yes.
Ernie Dorchenez.
Yes.
Motion carries 8-0. First, subparagraph G of 5 ILCS 120/2.06. This portion of the city council meeting is reserved for any person wishing to address the council on any relevant subject matters concerning the city. The Illinois Open Meeting Act 5 ILCS 120/1C mandates no action shall be taken on subject matters not listed on the agenda, but the council may direct staff to address the topic or refer the subject matter to a future council and/or committee meeting. If anyone wishes to address the council, please provide your name and address, limit your comments or presentation to 3 minutes, and avoid repetitious comments. Thank you. Anyone else would like to address the council? Alderman Bertle?
I was gonna make this comment, I don't wanna belabor this point, I know we already voted on it in the past, but the situation with sewer tap, I just wanted to inform the media so they're on the same page, that the water department currently pays for all labor and all material from the water main to the property line. So basically, it sounds like this sewer tap ordinance is gonna be almost identical to what the water department is currently doing. I know it's a different animal because they're tapping onto a live water line versus the sewer line that doesn't have any pressure, and I know the whole thing's a little different, but it's basically saying the city's responsible for our property, homeowners responsible for their property, so that makes it very clear.
Motion for adjournment?
So moved.
Alderman Olive, second Alderman Dorchenez, all in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries to adjourn. Thank you very much. 7:35.